Fed up of floor robes, driven to distraction and drowning with doom boxes? Tired of living in chaos? Welcome to Decluttering Untangled, how to declutter when you're overwhelmed, ADHD or autistic. I'm going to help you uncover the secrets to decluttering, no matter what hurdles you face. You'll discover how to declutter, de-stress and transform your world. I'm Heather Tingle, reformed hoarder, neurodivergent declutter queen, and your guide through the maze of mess. Let's get untangled. Hello Untanglers, and welcome to another episode of Decluttering Untangled with me, your host Heather Tingle. Now, first of all, I want to start this episode with an apology from the show last week. I don't think I was clear enough about what I was saying, and a lovely untangler messaged me to say they were using travel size containers as they couldn't take whole big bottles. And I totally agree with this. This is what I advocate for. And I have the same. So all I do is I just refill them. What I meant was that you have your travel containers, and when you get them back home, use them until they're empty and then wash them out and keep them in your suitcase as like pure travel items, like the adapters, for example. Don't keep buying mini ones each time you go away, or have a separate stash. Use what you've already got, but decant them into those small travel containers. So I hope that makes sense now. And thank you to the untangler that messaged me so eloquently. You are appreciated. Also, a massive thank you to the lovely person that bought me a coffee from the link in the show notes. It was a real shock and it was so lovely, and it really does mean a lot for you supporting me in this way, because obviously whenever I'm doing the podcast, I'm not actually earning any money. It's taking me away from my one-to-one work a little bit. So anything that you can do to buy me a cup of tea, because it's going to buy me some tea bags, it is very much appreciated. So thank you for supporting me. Okay, on to today's podcast. Now, I hope this is going to help so many of you. It is kind of going back to basics a little bit. And I think I'm really surprised that I've not really talked about this before, because today I'm going to talk about the power of the pile. Now, I do believe I have got that. I'm pretty certain from Marie Kondo. It is not my saying, but I do love it. The power of the pile, isn't it good? So no, this is not the laundry mountain you currently have sitting in your room, nor the pile of doom bags currently in your spare room. This is a way to declutter, which is so necessary, and I'm going to talk you ways to do it, why it's important, and also how not to do it, because I see many people making lots of mistakes with this. So when you're decluttering, obviously one of the most important things is to zone your items. So check out episode 1 of this podcast for a refresher on zoning. So you put items where they belong and you put them together, even if they are not totally in the place you want them to be, but they might be in front of the cupboard where you want them to eventually live, for example. Now, the power of the pile is the next step. So you get that category together of all those items in that category, so you can then make decisions over what stays and what goes. Having them all together in the pile means a few things. It means you can visually see how many you've got. So realising that 17 pairs of tweezers might be a little excessive. Seeing the volume that you've got and the amount of space it physically takes up right now is so useful, because I am terrible at spatial awareness. I have got no idea how big things are, how much space they take until they're physically in front of me. And then, so seeing that can be a real jolt to actually, oh my word, how many of these have I actually got? This is crackers. That can be a real big wake up call, and realizing how many you've got of the same item. Then being able to compare them against each other. I think this is why it's so important to have them together, because if you don't have them all to compare against, you end up keeping so many more, as you don't know where the others are. You don't know how to compare them against each other. Some might be better than others. Some might be newer. Some might work better. You don't know. So to have them to compare against and touch can be so useful to use as a barometer for which are your favourites and then which can go. And the only way you can do that is by comparing them against the ones that you've got in front of you. Now, when creating your piles, it's important that you work with small, manageable mounds, little piles, to be really aware of your energy and time. Does it seem a big overwhelming pile that you're only going to get through half before you have to break off, in which case it is too big and you need to make it smaller? So your next step might not actually be decluttering, it might just be splitting it into smaller piles for you. And I will be doing another episode on chunking, which is very similar to this. So it needs to be micro categories to remove the overwhelm and ensure you can sleep on your bed or you can use that floor by the end of it. Because let's face it, we've all done it. We've all shoved stuff on the bed, start going through it. Something's happened. Either we've had to pick the kids up from school, or you've had to go to work, or you've had a phone call, or you're just knackered by the end of it. You do not want to then shove stuff back on the floor and then the next day think I'll put it back on the bed and do it again. You want it to be done by the end of it. Using a timer can really help you to stay focused and avoid the fatigue. So trying 15 minutes bursts and then reassess if you've got the energy to continue, which is why it's so important to do the mini piles instead of just one massive, huge one. And make sure you're not creating other piles that you can't sort later on. So, for example, if you're in my world, you sort things into the keep, donate, rehome somewhere else in the house, give to someone else, or bin or action. Make sure you finish those piles off as part of this time and process. So you don't want to just swap one pile for 4 extra ones. Like, that is not how it works. And do not skip the zoning step. And I know it takes time. And I know that it feels like you're not getting anywhere, that nothing's leaving. But in the long run, it means more leaves. You're more efficient when you're decluttering because it's all there ready for you. And you can physically see the space coming back to life again and your space emerging when you go through each zone. Now, if a pile is made from random items all over the place, you're going to struggle to make decisions. You need a specific category first, or a type of category. So if you're doing a doom pile or a doom bag, do a quick zone with them first. Now, it might not be putting them in the places that they're going to live. It might be just a quick first sift of, well, these are all stationary items. I'm going to quickly go through those. These are all clothing items. I'm going to go through those. These are all medical. These are all random little bits that I don't know what they are, things. I'm going to go through those. And then put them where they're meant to go with the other zones after you've done the decluttering and the first sift of it. But what I want you to make sure you do is do not pull anything out first without a plan. A spontaneous pile can quickly become a massive, overwhelming task, which you're going to run away from. So you really need to prep your space and time first. Now, the exception to this is when you're decluttering spaces like an understairs cupboard. You might have to pull absolutely everything out to access all the stuff, in which case this is a big project and it needs a good few hours. And you need to make sure that you've got the time and the energy to do the whole lot. Because if you haven't, what you need to do is at least pull it out, zone it, and then put it back in zones as a first smaller step. So it might be putting all the same things in bags or boxes. So at least you know what is in this big room of doom. So you've half sorted it first. You do not want to end up with a house full of displaced items waiting for you until you've got more spare time and energy to sort it. Because let's face it, that isn't something you're ever going to want to go back to. It's going to feel really overwhelming and you're going to run away from it and feel paralysed by it. And in the meantime, your house is going to look worse than what it did when you first sorted it. The other thing is, do not use the pile as a new dumping ground. So this is not a new doom pile miscellaneous corner. This pile is temporary. It is only a pile while you are decision making, and that it is intentional and it has to have disappeared by the end of your session. Are you listening to me, ADHDers? Now, make sure you're not rushing the decisions. If you find yourself getting indecisive, snappy, stressed, or you're taking much longer than you were making decisions, that's when you've hit decision fatigue. It is real. So you need to keep this pile small so you don't get all the way through. So you can get all the way through it, so you don't get stuck halfway through. A big one, and I'm really sorry, because it is meaning that half of your time is planning. Well, I'd say 10% of your time is planning. This is where I show how bad I am at math. 10% time of your is planning. 30% of your time is the exit plan and making that happen. And the remaining 60%, I can't remember what the numbers were in the beginning, is the decluttering time. So do not forget the exit plan. You need to schedule time for the next steps. Rehoming, donating, disposing. The pile isn't truly dealt with until it has left the house or it has returned to its proper place. Okay, so that is the power of the pile. I hope that has given you some tips to think about. So until next time, remember you are not alone. Be kind to yourself and keep untangling. Thanks for joining me for today's episode of Decluttering Untangled. If you found anything that I've said today helpful, please do me a favour, hit that subscribe button or leave me a review. It's like receiving a virtual high five that keeps me going and lets me know that I'm helping real people out there and I'm making a difference. Please remember, you're not alone in this. I'm building a community of fellow untanglers over on Facebook. Just visit the show notes for the link to my free decluttering community. So until next time, remember, you're not alone, you're not lazy, you can untangle your life.